Hi everyone. As part of this problem, we have the input table as purchases. This table has below columns purchase ID, customer ID, the customer who has made the purchase, item name, that is the item that the customer has purchased, and purchase timestamp, that is the time at which the customer has purchased this item. So this is the input details that we have. As part of the output, we need to find out that for every customer, what is the first and last item that they have purchased. So for example, if we see this customer ID 101, they have purchased the first item as laptop, as we can see by the purchase timestamp. That is the list time. So this is the first item that they have purchased. And the maximum time, that is the last time that they have purchased, is at 10th April 2024, and this item is keyboard. So the first item is laptop, the last item is keyboard. So that is what we should report in the output. So for every customer, what is the first item and what is the last item that they have purchased. In addition, we need to have additional column, that is purchase order, indicating which was the item that was purchased first and which was the item that was purchased last. Okay, so this is the problem statement and we need to solve this. So we will use two approaches to solve this problem. Let's start with first approach. So we have this input. We will start working on this first approach. So we will take data from this purchases table. So here what we are going to do is we are going to use the window function. We will use the ranking function row number. So since we need to find the details with respect to each of the customer ID, we will partition it based on the customer ID. That is, we are kind of creating groupings based on the customer ID. So for these four entries, it will be a single group that will be created. And we are going to order it based on the purchase timestamp. So we will sort it based on the ascending order and let's call it as low rank. So this way, the entry for the customer which is having the least purchase timestamp will be assigned value 1 and it will be assigned in increasing order. So let's see this and then we will proceed further. So order spelling is incorrect. Let's correct this. So as we see, for each of the customer ID, we have assigned the ranking based on the purchase timestamp. So this is for identifying which is the item that they have purchased list time. So this way we can get the first item. Wherever the ranking is 1, for that customer ID, we can pick that item. Like this is the item that they have purchased first. Okay. Similarly, we need to find out which item was purchased at the end. So for that, what we will do is we will create another row number function. So let's add this again and let's call it as high rank. And here what we will do is we will order the timestamp in descending order so that whichever purchase timestamp is maximum is ranked at the top. So let's run and see this. So as we see, we created two ranks. One is low rank, one is high rank. Low rank will order in the ascending order of purchase timestamp. So whichever is the list value will be assigned value as 1 and whichever is highest value will be assigned in the increasing order. Similarly, the column high rank will assign the value 1 for the largest timestamp for a particular customer ID. So it will assign value as 1. So if we take entries where high rank is 1, we will get all the latest purchases by the customer. So let's do that. Now what we will do is whatever output that we have just seen, let's take it as part of a CTE. Let's call it as purchase CTE. And we will work on this purchase CTE. So now what we need to do is we simply need to keep only those entries where either the low rank is 1 or the high rank is 1, which means just take those entries where the customer has made the first purchase or they have made the last purchase, which we have identified through these two columns. Let's pick all the columns from here and let's run and see the output. So now as we see, for every customer, we have picked only those entries where the high rank or low rank is 1, which means that we have got only those entries which are the first product that are purchased by the customer or the last product that are purchased by the customer. Now the last thing that is pending to be done here is deriving the additional column, that is the purchase order column. So what we will do is, for now, let's keep all the columns. What we will do is we will use the case statement and we will check if low rank is 1. If it is 1, then we will say that this is the first purchase that the customer has made. Otherwise, we will say that it is the last purchase that the customer has made. Let's call this column as purchase order. So let's run and see this. So as we see, now we have received the additional column. Wherever the entries are first, we have assigned the value as first, and wherever the entries are last, we have assigned the value as last. So now we will keep only the relevant columns that are required and remove this derived columns of low rank and high rank as we don't need as part of the output. So let's keep only the relevant columns, that is purchase ID, customer ID, item name, purchase timestamp, and the last derived column that we already have. So this will be our final output. And just to have the proper visualization, we will order it based on the customer ID and the purchase timestamp. So let's run and see the final output. So this is the final output that we have created. For every customer, we have identified what is the first item that they have purchased and what is the last item that they have purchased, which we can see in the output. And we have also added the flag which indicates which one is the first entry and which one is the last entry. So this is the first approach that we have used to solve this problem. Let's solve this problem with a different approach. So let's move to a new tab, and this will be our second approach. So this is our input and we are going to work on this. So we are going to take the data from this purchases table. Now, instead of using the row number function or the ranking function, we are going to use a different window function. So we are going to use the first value and last value function. So what we are going to do is, for every customer, so we will partition it based on the customer ID. That is, for every customer ID, we will order it based on the purchase timestamp. And this we will call as first val. So what we are basically doing is, so this we have created a partition by, which means this will be a single grouping and we have ordered it based on the purchase timestamp. So out of this, we want to order it in this based on this column and pick up the first value of the purchase timestamp. Okay, so let's run and see what is the output for this. Okay, let's remove this comma. So this is the derived column that we have added. What it will do is, for every customer, it will identify what is the first value as per the purchase timestamp. So it will order based on the purchase timestamp and pick up the first value. So first value for this customer is 5th of January 2024. So that will be present for each and every row. Similarly, for other customers as well, it will pick only the first value and that will be reflected in this column. So this way we can identify which is the first item that was purchased. Now what we will do is, on similar lines, we are going to use the last value function to get the last item that is purchased. So let's identify the last value. Let's call it as last val. And what we will do is, we will use the last value function. So let's run and see the output. So ideally, for customer 101, if we see, the last item that they have purchased is on 10th of April 2024. But what we are seeing here is the values are not correct. It is not giving the right last value for each and every entry. Somehow it is giving the same value that that is there in the input. So why this is happening?
Why?
This is because the default behavior of the window is from the first row till the current row, which means that this is the first row. So it will pick only data from this row. So it will give this as the last value. When it comes to this row, so it will try to identify what is the last value between these two columns, as we have ordered it based on the purchase timestamp. So the last value is 15th Feb. So it has given this. Again, for the third entry, it will pick the last value from the first three columns. So that's why it has given this entry itself. But this is not the behavior that we want to see. We would like it to pick the last value in the entire group. So whatever group we have, it should pick 10th of April as the last value. So here we have to specify the window correctly. And how we can do it? Using rows between. So rows between, we can say unbounded preceding, that is start from the very first row and go till the very last row, that we can specify using unbounded following. And now let's run this. So now if we see, it has picked the right output, right last value. So note that in either of the window function, whether it is the first value or the last value, the default behavior is taking the value from the very first row till the current row. In case of first value, by default it works fine, because if we partition it based on the customer ID, it will come first here. So this is the first entry it has given. Then for the next row, it will pick the first value from these two rows. So which is 5th of January. So it has given correctly. For third row, it will be this way. So it will pick the first entry. That's why for first value, it works fine. But the default ordering or the default window that is present, it doesn't work correctly for last value, because it will pick the last value from here. Then it will pick last value from these two rows only. Then from these three rows only. And this way it will not give correctly. So that's why we have changed the window and specified that take the entire group into the picture and give the last value. So that way it has picked the correct last value here. Now let's add this as part of a CTE. Whatever output that we are just seeing, we will add it as part of the CTE. And let's call it as purchase CTE. Now we will operate on this purchase CTE. So now what we need to do is we need to retain only those entries where the purchase timestamp is matching with either the first val or the last val, indicating whether the entry is the first entry or the last entry. So for that, we will add this where condition to filter the records where the purchase timestamp is either in the first val or it is in the last val. So we will take only those entries. So let's run and see the output. So now if we see, for every customer, we have got only the first and the last entry. The last thing that we have to do is we have to add the required flag. So what we will do is we will add the case condition, that is when the purchase timestamp is equal to the first val, then it is the first entry. So that we will indicate by value first, else it is last entry. And let's name it as purchase order. So let's run and see the output. So now as we see, we have got the flag value as well as first and last. As a cleanup step, we will keep only those columns which we require and remove this derived column, that is first val and last val. So let's quickly do that. So we will keep only the purchase ID, customer ID, then item name and purchase timestamp along with the flag which we have derived at this step. So these are the columns that we have. Let's run this final step and see the output. Okay, so we have got the final output, and we can also sort it based on the customer ID and the purchase timestamp to see the details clearly. So, okay, we have to add the order by as a last statement. So let's do that. Okay, let's run and see the output. So we have got the final result. We have solved the problem using the two approaches, one using the ranking function, another using the first value and the last value function, wherein we have identified what is the first and last purchases by the customer, which is the first item that they have purchased and which is the last item that they have purchased. So let's do a quick summary of how we have solved the problem. So let's walk through with the first approach. So in the first approach, we have used two row number functions. We have partitioned it based on the customer ID as we wanted to create the groupings based on the customer ID. For each of the customer ID, we have ordered the entries based on the purchase timestamp. So this is to identify which is the first entry that is present for the customer. And then we have ordered it based on the purchase timestamp in descending order. This is to identify the last entry. So those entries which has low rank as 1 will be the first entry. Those entries where the high rank is 1 will be the last entry. So that is what we have done here. We have filtered based on this condition. So after we have got it, we have also added a flag condition wherein if it is a low rank, we have highlighted it using first. Otherwise, we have indicated is using the last value. We have ordered it based on the customer ID and purchase timestamp to see the results clearly. So this was the first approach. In the second approach, what we have done is we have used the first value and last value window functions, and we have fetched the first value or the first entry purchase timestamp. We have partitioned it based on the customer ID and ordered it based on the purchase timestamp in the ascending order. So this way we will obtain the first purchase timestamp. Similarly, by using the last value, we have obtained the last purchase timestamp by giving the same ordering. Since the last value does not use the default windows correctly, we have specified the windows explicitly to take the data from the first row till the last row and pick the last value. With that, we have identified the first purchase timestamp and last purchase timestamp. After that, we have kept only those data where the purchase timestamp is either in the first purchase timestamp or the last purchase timestamp. Again, on the similar lines, we have obtained the flag value by comparing the purchase timestamp with the first value, if it is first or last. And finally, we have sorted the data based on the customer ID and purchase timestamp. So this way, using the two approaches, we have solved the problem. So hope you liked the video. If you liked, please like the video. Please subscribe the channel if you have not yet subscribed. And thank you for watching.